Hi guys, welcome back to Trail Talk. I'm your host Aaron Shimmons. Thanks for coming back to our trail and ultra running show. This episode is the Barkley Special. We are into the third loop of the Barkley and we're coming to you with everything we know about the race thus far. We have interrogated the tweets, we have looked back through the old databases, we have dug into our iPhone notes, and we're going to share all that information with you and a little bit about what we think might happen over the next 24 hours. Before we get into that, let's shout out the sponsors, xmiles.co.uk, for all the gels and powders and recovery drinks and anything that's sports nutrition. Get it at xmiles.co.uk. Use code IronRiverMountains for a discount, and it kicks us a couple of quid each month. If you're an international listener, viewer, check out GOREWEAR.com and use the 30% discount code IronRiverMountains30 for a massive 30% off that the amazing stuff that they do. Check out GOREWEAR.com and help us out. Anyway, let's go and chat to Troy and Chrissy. Hi guys, welcome back to another Trail Talk. This time we're coming in with a hot Barkley debrief, joined by my guy Troy and Chrissy. Troy, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's beautiful and sunny over here on the East Coast.
Cool. And Chrissy, I see the chocolate beanie. How are you? How are the legs?
The quads are trashed still. Yeah, it's rough to do an ultra in the middle of proper winter, but so it goes.
This is the time of year for the 50Ks, so suck it up. It's just bracing your legs for the year ahead.
Exactly. So, this is the only time I got to do it.
Yeah. So we're coming in hot with a Barkley update. Last year we ran 5 or 6 live streams, an update on each loop, and then a final debrief. And we're actually on air when Jasmine finished, which was an amazing thing to do. I don't think, guys, we're going to have such luck this year just by the decimation of the field. This Laz has really come out with a hard one this year. Troy, what do you think?
Yeah, so it reminds me, I can't remember the year, but I remember waking up after watching watching UTMB, and this was like before their live stream has always been good. This is before it was like exceptional, and going to Twitter, and all I saw was basically an image of like a nuclear bomb exploding, and it was like one of the years that the whole men's field just got wiped out overnight. And I kind of had the same feeling. I was looking at this going like down to 6. Okay. Like it's got to be hard out there. And they had, you can't say the weather wasn't, I don't know. We were talking about it. It may be a little foggy out there, but from the pictures I'm seeing, at least like the weather looks like it's been pretty good, at least the first 2 days or the first day and a half. So
Chrissy, how much of attention have you been paying to this?
Yeah, I do the whole follow Keith Dunn on social media, follow Taka's spreadsheet as best as I can. Thankfully now we're on Blue Sky, most everybody, so.
Blue Sky, I haven't signed up for Blue Sky. I'm still on X. I'm not using X. I'm also not American, so I'm not getting scorched as much as you guys by even having an association with that platform. But I also don't really use it. Like, I log in because Keith Dunn, and people were saying, oh, Keith's moved to Blue Sky. This time last year, everyone was saying, oh, you have to go to Mastodon to follow Keith. Keith is still pumping out the tweets, and that's what we're calling them. So, praise Keith Dunn. This is your 60 hours of fame every year. Well, I do note that on Blue Sky, he's already up to 11,000 followers. So he's killing it over there. So the comp blew yesterday at 10:37 a.m., 40 starters. And yeah, pretty good weather by, you never know what you're going to get with Barkley and in Frozen Head. But seemed to have a good kind of start to it. But times are really slow, guys. Troy, what do you think of these times? Like, if you look at the Tomo who come in first, nearly 11 hours. That's kind of nuts, right?
Yeah, considering everyone else, like in previous years, and like I say, the last 4 or 5 years, everyone's running the first lap in like sub 10, right? That's kind of the gold standard, right? Is get it done in 8.5, 9.5 hours, and then hold on for dear life. has kind of been what it looks like as far as like the attrition of time on the laps. I was joking with, I know they changed the course. I know we made it harder. I know there's like, you got to kind of bust the rust off on the first lap and kind of get in and lay the land with where the books are. I don't know if anyone's negative splitting the Barkley Marathons to get a finish in, and
Hard
so
no.
yeah, so I'm looking at it's kind of like you're just fighting for a fun run just to get a lay of what the new course is, so you can come in next year and hopefully do better. It's interesting that the why has to be really strong to know that like after the first loop, your race is toast, right? Like the only thing you can really ask for is a fun run at this point, unless something like, I don't know, unless you're like a Red Bull commercial and grow wings or something. I don't know. Like it's interesting. I'm amazed that there's still people going out on loops.
Well, it was definitely a very hard start to it, and it's cut away. Basically, it was because it was such a long, slow first loop. There's no scope for anyone to like the guys who would normally probably do it in 8-9 hours are coming in at 10 and 11 in that window. So it's just, it's cut the field down to a very small amount very quickly. So let's run through a little bit about what we know of the guys that are out there, and then pose a few other things that we're interested in. So Tomokazu Ihara, or Japanese Laz, as he's been named, is that like, I don't want to use the word racist, is that like cultural appropriation to call someone like Japanese Laz or something? No?
I'm not going there. Nicknames,
Well, it wasn't us, we're just reporting it.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like, I don't know, man. Nicknames are supposed to be, aren't you supposed to kind of like go on the edge a little bit of what's like PC with nicknames? Isn't that the point?
Like if I was there, cases? Maybe they just call me, well, not me, but there could be an Irish Laz. I guess that would be totally fine too. So like Japanese Laz is dead on. This is Tomo's 6th attempt. Run through some of his previous runs here. So he's had a fun run in 2023 and first loop 9:12, and first loop in 2019 was 9:56. 2 loops in 2022, and he seems to like have some form of every other year of giving the Barkley a go, and he's no stranger to some other big races. Hurt 100. He has a Western States finish in 20 hours a couple of years ago. Chrissy, what can you see from Tomo? Do you think he's got any chance of getting a fun run?
Okay, so looking at Tomo's history with 2 loops and whether he completes the fun runs, he did. I think he had high 24 hours this year so far for loop 2. He's had 3 times where he was over 24, between 24:25 and 26:15. 2 out of those 3 times, he was able to do the fun run, but not continue on. I think at this point, we're also just not assuming anybody's getting past a fun run. So the chances are okay for him to get a fun run. I think increased experience adds to that probability, but he might be one of only him and John Kelly, maybe the French guys. It's hard right now to tell how much people are going to negative split as maybe the weather starts to disintegrate moving into Thursday.
Yeah. So Tomo's fun run in 2023 was a 9:12 first loop, 22:46 on the second, and 35:55 on the third. So he's within a couple of hours of that second loop finish time. And if you're thinking get the fun run, it's still possible. And maybe there's a possibility here that the first loop, unsighted for everybody, was so different that there was the what the fuck, and that's why it was so difficult. But then the cream has risen to the top again, so to speak, and the previous finishers or of fun runs or whatever are all up there. Troy, anything to add on Tomo?
Yeah, it really just comes down, I think in general for the fun run, I just think it comes down to like, does the weather hold up for these guys on on this third loop. I think we've got rain in the forecast, but not till tomorrow. So, can they get it done before they get sucked in Frozen Head? And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he's got history in being able to get it done. Technically he has the time, with 40 hours and coming in at 24 hours, or 24 hours and a half, 24 hours, 32 minutes or whatever it was. He's got the time to do it. He can't. Hours will slip by for these guys if they're not careful, is kind of how I see it, especially with the way the first lap just kind of wrecked the field.
So let's touch on the weather. It looks brutal. It started and they had a great first day, but going into Thursday, let's just read out what we've got coming. We have the warmest temperature I'm seeing on the forecast is -1, with also a low chill of -13 at night. So we also have the possibility of rain falling as well, but it's really those cold temperatures that are going to be the concern. I think that it's going to make even getting out in the fourth loop very difficult. It's going to slow things down. It's going to also make people feel really bad coming in if they just spent another 12 hours or so out on a loop getting absolutely froze. Chrissy, what do you think of the weather? This is proper Barkley weather coming in here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that loop 1 was so slow and there was so much attrition because this was the best weather they're going to have the whole time, and good by Barkley standards in general. And so the fact that the course has changed enough that people can't even get through it in good weather, I think the second that fog gets any worse, the second you get that freezing rain that they get out there, I don't have a lot of hope this year. And I think that's exactly what Laz wants, right? We had a banner year last year, and that's about the opposite of what Laz wants out of this race. So this is kind of everything you would expect out of a Barkley.
Yeah, totally. So let's just run through a few other things, and then we'll dig in a little bit on the people who are still out there at the front. So we have Tomo, John Kelly, Sebastian Reichon, Maxime Godin out on the third loop, and Sebastian and Maxime started together. Both these guys have fun runs. Both these guys have been here. They're coming back for another go. But there's a couple of other things that are big question marks right now. Where's Max King? Where's Aurelian Sanchez, 2023 finisher? Where's Claire Banworth? So let's start off with, where's Max King? Where's he, Troy?
I mean, I was really excited to see Max taking a stab at this, at Barkley, and it's just kind of the nature of the beast. You could be really good at running and really good at obstacle courses, and I know he goes out in skimos and stuff on the East Coast a lot too. So he's got to have some sort of mountain you got to have a little bit of navigation skills to do that too, depending on the routes you're on. So you would think that's where he would need to tighten up and get his chops really dialed. But man, I really wanted to see Max show up and get 2 or 3 loops done here, and then continue to see that progression that you kind of need to have. Very few people just on site Barkley. It just doesn't really happen. So I don't know where Max is, and the guy's, I mean, he's strong. I expected him to be coming in, I expected him to latch on to John, to be honest with you, and just ride his coattails through the first 2 laps. And that's not, at least unless Keith is holding back on us, that's definitely not what's happened,
Yeah, look, you don't on-site Barkleys unless your name's Ihor Veris. But just to correct you a little bit, Max King's background is in adventure racing, as well as Max King basically has a resume of everything. So with adventure racing, the key qualities there, assuming we're talking all quality aerobic athletes, is sleep deprivation and navigation.
Yeah.
So he has the skills there. He also participates in orienteering as well, because he's just got the stoke for everything that involves using your 2 feet and running around a lot, whatever it is. So he's come here. He doesn't even have a nickname. That's not fair. Like, Max King needs a last nickname. So very disappointed. Where the hell is he? We are 25 hours in, and there's not a sniff of Max.
Yeah, I had
Chrissy, what do you think's gone wrong?
I mean, again, I think it's pushback on last year of trying to actually have less media style coverage. And I feel like in general, there's a lot less descriptions of people and a lot more mystery this year as part of that pushback. It's definitely, it's tough being so far away on the outside and knowing people like Max, people like Claire could possibly have all the tools to do well here. And we have no idea if, where they are on loop 2, if they are on loop 2, or if they're one of those, 31 runners who didn't make it past loop 1.
Yeah, I think over the course of the next 5-6 hours, we might know a little bit more in that regard. So let's talk a little bit about Sebastian Reichon. Second attempt, 4 loops last year, 8:35, 19:27, 32:15. Finished loop 1 with Tomo this year in 10:57, and then went out on the second loop with Maxime at 25:29. So this guy has some form of being kind of gritty, he is a race director and creator of a race in France, which is known as the European Barkley. It has the same type of style. He got the okay from Laz to kind of use this framework, and it's super difficult race. Like, it falls into that category of I would never try that. And we like to do difficult things, but that's, I like to do difficult things where there's a sniff of a finish. I don't want to do hard things just for the sake of trying it and failing. So, like, what do we think about Sebastian? I'll come to you, Chrissy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's interesting that him and Maxime seem to be fully teaming up. Maybe the only two that are fully teaming up. I think at this point, Tomo and John are starting to separate a bit and definitely taking a bit more of a veteran's approach, even though it's only each of their second time, which I think is smart in a year where there aren't many true veterans to follow. So I think, he has, again, another pair of people who have all the tools to get through a fun run. They cannot lose time. And that's just going to be, as in any other year, that's going to be the name of the game for the next handful of hours on loop 3.
Yeah. That's French power teaming up right there. That's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing there. And Maxine is also a fun run finisher as well. 3 loops last year, totaling in 32 hours. And he was actually ahead of Tomo last year in that fun run as well. He's also an orienteer. So these guys have experience, they have skills, and they're also teaming up. So I think maybe Tomo being at the top of the pile this year feels to me like a bit of an outlier, going on all his previous experience there. Troy, talk a little bit about Sebastian, Maxime, pick it up from there.
I mean, I'm on his index, his UTMB index, and like Sebastian, I'm talking about. I mean, Swiss Peaks Trail, 660, Tour de Jance, second place at Chapelle Belle. I think you may help me with that pronunciation, Aaron. But like these are like no joke. Like, he's got the pedigree, is all I can say. Like, these are no joke European races that test you. They definitely put you through the paces.
Was that the 170K? La Chapelle?
Yeah, it's 100. It's basically 100 miler.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's like that's the hardest 100 miler in the Alps right now.
Yeah, it's like wicked hard, ridiculously hard race. And it makes sense that the two Frenchmen would team up together. Like, based on what you were saying with Maximi's pedigree and just them teaming up and him having that orienteering background, adventure racing background. Like, I want to see these guys get the fun run on, basically, Barkley on steroids, I guess. I don't know. Like, it sounds like Laz like really, really made sure that this one was going to be very difficult, and he kind of reshuffled the deck on the course. And so I think, I don't know what everyone was thinking about when they started, based on how good the weather was and the time that they actually got a chance that they got to start, and the fact that, most of Loop 2 would be during the day, like all of the factors, right? But I imagine some people were thinking, you can't go into this not thinking you're going to get it done. And so I don't know. I think at this point, everyone's just holding on for a fun run, and maybe they go out for Loop 4.
Maybe, or maybe not, with that temperature. And one other person, we've mentioned him briefly, Aurelian Sanchez, his third Barkley, finisher in 2023, and his loops were 8:45, 21:13, 32:55. Where is Aurelian? Chrissy, is he lost out there? What do we know about Aurelian?
I mean, I think we know nothing. It's the same thing, right? Where it's just, I have this feeling that unless he's one of those like 5 other people that started Loop 2 that's, going to get cut off now at this point, at the time of recording, from Loop 3, he's probably just one of those 31 people, and we're just not getting any information on them because there's so many that drop so early.
Yeah, I think whenever we come back for the follow-up show, we're going to be talking about maybe no more runners. It's maybe all going to be over. 24 hours time, there could be no runners, but we will know the fate of Aurelian and Max and Claire, and where did they get lost, and what happened to them. And Claire obviously has a flight booked so she can get to Chianti for Saturday. Chianti by UTMB. Do we think that's going to happen? If there's one person that would try it, it would be Claire.
I guess the question is, did we ever get confirmation that she actually started, or is she actually injured?
I believe that she was at Frozen Head, and I think Chianti is the non-starter. Can you imagine her, like, how you can filter your bank statement by category? How much does she spend on race entries? And she turns up for like 30% of them. And she did that 100-miler in China, and she just walked it because she was injured, but she still started it and still finished it. She's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
So
go
ahead,
Troy. Aaron. I was gonna say, like, I was excited to see her on the start list because, like, she has that kind of nuts to get it done. Like, you kind of have to have a little bit more than your typical ultra crazy to toe the line at Barkley and do the dang thing. And but maybe not her year. And I can't. There's no definite information that she started the race this year, though. I think people said that she was spotted in Frozen Head. So I'm interested, to your point, Aaron, I'm interested to get a little bit of the play-by-play from some of these athletes that are seemingly like still out on Loop 1.
How can it be? How can it be? Yeah, I think Claire's an interesting one because I don't think she's fast enough to be a Barkley finisher. I think she's tougher than almost everybody. Like, she just has incredible endurance and toughness. Or as Gav in the Trail Talk WhatsApp would say, she also has, chronic fatigue waiting to hit her around the face with a hammer.
Well, I've said that before too. I mean, after her kind of season, was it last year, the year before, with like all the doubles and like Hard Rock, and just like, it just made me like wonder, is this just a Roman candle, basically? Like, not it's like
UTMB, Swiss Peaks, but she didn't start, and then Tour, which she did start, and there was a string of other things. I mean, I'm talking about a 1-month period at that point. Someone else that I think we should also mention is the only other female that we see in the starting list, Christina Roglowski, based in Colorado, does race internationally. She has a 5th place at Swiss Alps 100 last year in 34:21. So, I mean, I would have beat her. But well, I ran 32, so I mean, just saying. And then Bear 100, she was second in that. in 2023 as well. So she likes 100 milers. She's the 16th place at Gorge and 13. Would have beat her at Gorge as well. It's not looking good. It shouldn't have went down that far in the list. But does anyone know anything about Christina? Chrissy, maybe you want to pick that up?
If it's the Chris Ruglowski that we're thinking of, it looks like she's a very multi-sport hybrid athlete.
Hybrid athlete? How dare you?
I mean, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the word Hyrox in her profile. I can't quite ignore the hybrid word at that point.
She has been infected by the influencer pandemic.
I wonder what kind of orienteering, navigational, off-trail kind of experience she has, because, there's just not any information to indicate, she could potentially be the human sacrifice. We still don't know who the human sacrifice was this year, but we do know that they are presumably out on Loop 2, which is honestly big year for the human sacrifice.
that is a result indeed. So what else do we have on the agenda here? I think we've run through the main people that are out there. There's a few other names that I don't think we need to mention. So I think maybe for the debrief at this point, we'll start wrapping it up. Troy, do you want to come in with something here?
Well, I just want to add that it looks like Christina got into this year's event she was first place by her age and second place overall in the Fall Classic. So that could be how she pinned her bib on for Barkley. So I'm just, thought that's kind of interesting. She messed around and won a really, really hard 50K, and here she is going for the Barkley Marathon.
It seems like a really soft entry, doesn't it? Like whoever wins the Barkley Fall Classic should be given what do you call that? The virgin
human
bib?
Sacrifice.
Yeah, the human sacrifice, the Barkley sacrifice. Chrissy, any closing comments before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, I think, we're just strapped for information this year until we start hearing more. I'm guessing is Tom Calmette, is that a brother of Guillaume?
I don't know. It's not a rare surname, but I can't. All right, guys.
That could be an interesting. Go ahead.
We'll wrap it up at that, and we will have lots of information coming in the next one. We will answer some of the questions that we posed and create a whole lot more questions that we probably will never be able to answer. But this is Trail Talk. This is the Barkley debrief, and we'll see you next time.